Horizon Forbidden Nest.
Nori and the Blind
Blind-
Forest. That
one
works.
sounds so close. You should just go for that.
I should just go for that one. Nori, did he say Ori? Nope.
And then my O is Ori and the Blind
Is
Forest.
Will of the Wisps.
Will of the
That might
Wisps.
actually be my W. Who
You should
knows?
save that. Yeah, save
gonna
that
write
for
that down.
Will of the Wisps.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I am one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. How are you?
How are you today?
How are you this fine day?
I'm doing just fine. For those of you that are watching the video, don't be alarmed by the really big bruise on the inside of my leg. A dog kind of like jumped on me, and the claws didn't actually hurt that much. It just bruised up real bad.
It's a serious bruise.
In their defense, it was neither Birdie nor Fender. This was another stranger dog.
A chihuahua.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was like, it really
Make
had
it
to
seem
jump.
more like offset the injury to the
No,
size
just
of the
some
dog
little
that caused it.
mid-sized mutt. Who knows what it was? But anyways, so yeah, don't be alarmed about that.
Don't be alarmed. Dogs are fine. She's fine. It's all good here.
If it had been Fender, it wouldn't have bruised
That's true.
because he's such a good boy.
He's too soft and
He's-
lovely.
yeah, he's too-
going to sleep right now.
Well, good little dog.
Bird's laying here still for now. We'll see how this goes. I don't know.
She's always one step closer to the edge.
She's about to just pop off.
She's
If we hear
just
one little car door shut outside, somebody like kick a pebble,
Yeah.
she'll know and she'll let us know.
I believe in her. She can maintain calm.
But you know what? Hopefully she just remains calm as we talk about video games here on Team Chat Podcast, where you can listen to us on a weekly basis. Well, when we get the episodes out, but we've been doing good these last few weeks. I'm proud of us. I'm proud of ourselves here. But you can listen to those on Thursday mornings on podcast services around the World Wide Web, as well as watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Join our Discord server where we can have a lot of great conversation with us when we're not here recording the show. And finally, if you'd like to support the show and make it bigger and better, just like Elise F., Zach S., Mariah S., Susan M., James K., Ben W., Michael B., Andrew M., Michael S., and Brandon W. have done, well, you can go over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, where as for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show. And in return, we'll give you cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general Thursday release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery, as well as some extra custom emojis or emoticon. What are they called?
Emoji.
Emoji. Thank you.
Emoticon. This is the
Emoticons.
difference. A lot of people don't know this. An emoji is like an actual image.
Okay.
Emoticons are the ones that you type out. So like colon D, that's an emoticon.
Huh.
Anything that you make out of like parentheses and a bunch of zeros and like underscores and hyphens, those are emoticons.
Well, what do you know?
People like don't
More
think
you
that that's
know.
true, but it is.
I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Emote icon.
Like
for-
emoji is like a
yeah.
.png image that you are typing in.
Yeah.
Well, not typing into the thing, but that it's calling to that.
Right.
So, anyways,
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Look at that. You
More
learned
you
something
know.
cool and new here on Team Chat Podcast, not only about video games. But hey, if you can't do that, that's no big deal at all. You can still plenty of free ways that you can support the show and get it out there to the masses, such as telling your friends, writing us reviews, subscribing, hitting that bell notification on YouTube if you're watching us there, subscribing wherever you're listening to or watching the show. All that great stuff helps get the good word of Team Chat Podcast out to the masses, and for that, we are eternally grateful. And we love each and every one of our viewers, listeners, and patrons alike. Heart emoji?
That
Con?
actually brings up a good
Emoticon?
question.
What
Is
is
this
this?
an emoticon?
I think we're making the sign of the shape of
Yeah,
a
like
heart,
we're doing two characters
it's
and
like-
putting them together.
but we're not doing the heart.
Ooh.
We're not doing the three.
That's
in the heart.
gosh. Okay, let us
Now
know.
I feel like I'm,
Okay, let us know in the Team Chat Discord if you think that our hand heart is an emoji or an
Emoji or
emoticon.
emoticon.
We've never had to have this
we've never done this
philosophical
deep into what we
crisis
do.
before.
But now it's time for us to get to the nitty gritty of it
Yes.
all, which leads us. Perfect segue. Let's get into the nitty gritty of this episode because we've done a few string of review episodes, and now it's time to bring it back to a good old list because you know that we love a good old list,
Everybody loves a good old
and we're
list.
continuing our I'm having a hard time stringing the thoughts together.
Which is funny
But we're
because your intro
continuing.
was excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
that was one of
appreciate
your
that.
better ones.
But like the transition was good. Getting into the nitty gritty. We're getting into the nitty gritty here of our next installment of our ABCs of games. Just had to
There we
rescue
go.
it, reset it a little bit. We're
Nice.
good to go. Let's roll. But we are on now to M, N, and O.
It's so weird the way that the alphabet like breaks down for this because all of the letters seem to be grouped in like the wrong way.
Yes.
Like they all feel like they are off by one.
We should have done LMNOP all in one.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just like it's ABC, DEF, GHI. Like the first part felt right.
Yeah.
But then the next part was like,
This doesn't feel as good.
like JKL.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Who's,
and like
who says it's JKL?
MNO.
Just kidding later. No.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it doesn't make sense. I don't like it.
And then it's gonna be PQR.
Yeah, not
oh,
even
I hate that.
PQRS.
It should be QRS.
Right?
TUV, WX,
YZ.
YZ. God, we should have gone by how the vowels are placed in the ABC song.
This episode's going to be really quick, everybody, because we have to make it through letters LMNOP.
We're just going to go really fast. Man, okay, anyways, yes, we're on MNO.
We are on MNO. It's been a minute. Should we do a refresher on our recent games? Because like
Oh, like of the games we've
of
done
the ones
so
we've
far?
done before.
Yeah, you run through
before?
yours.
Before.
Yeah.
Okay, so A for me, this is my ABCs so far. I have A, Assassin's Creed 2. B, BioShock. C, I have a slash here and I don't remember which one I went for. Oh, I went for Control.
Oh, I was about to
But
say,
I
thought
think
it
I was talking
Control.
about Civilization or wanted to. But I was like, I can't say the whole series, so I'm going to go with a single game, Control. D, Dark Forces. E, Edith Finch, comma, What Remains of.
That's still my
Had
favorite
to make that one stretch it in there somehow.
Hilarious.
F, Far Cry 3. G, Greece.
Or Gris, who cares?
H, Horizon Zero Dawn. I, Infamous. J, Jedi Fallen Order. K, Killzone. L, The Last of Us. And I had to stop myself because I almost read
I
the
know,
next
yeah,
one.
it's going to be a close call. You know what? I'll scroll in such a way that I don't view the M.
Nice.
Okay, so mine are Animal Crossing New Horizons. New Horizons.
I rubbed off on you. I'm sorry.
New Horizons? That's where it's just all guys named Brian. No, Animal Crossing New Horizons. B, Black Book. C, Chaos Legion, the game that literally no one remembers.
Yep.
D, Dishonored. E,
good choice.
Evil Zone,
Nice.
everybody's favorite. F, Folklore. G, Gravity Rush. I realized that I made a mistake. I actually meant to do Golden Sun and forgot. So
sorry.
I'm still glad that we covered Gravity Rush,
Dude,
but that
Sun,
spot,
comma, Golden.
yeah, there you go. I'll
S,
do
we
it.
haven't got there yet.
Oh wait, well, we already.
But S is a good one,
We
though.
already passed the L's because I could have done Golden Sun: The Lost Age, which was the sequel. But originally they were one game. They just had to break them into two because the Game Boy didn't have enough memory for both of them at the time.
Their ambition got the best of them.
Anyways, so that spot was supposed to go to Golden Sun. Don't worry, everybody. I will find a way to talk about it later. H, Hollow Knight. Duh. I, Indivisible. J, Journey. K, Kirby Air Ride, obviously. And L, The Legend of Dragoon.
Very nice. So you're caught up there. So now it's time to move into our letter M, which I think I'll kick us off here. I'll start us off here. a little bit.
Okay, wow, some initiative.
Yeah.
Like you don't literally start every episode.
I do have the tendency to be like, Mogan, you start us off out of laziness. But today, I'm taking the reins. And going to start with my letter M, which is this game, honestly, it was a lot of fun. Had a ton of fun playing it. It's Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, I was gonna guess Moo Moo Meadows, Mario Kart.
Oh man, Mario's. I didn't even think about all of Mario.
Wow, okay.
But that's point enough of why they shouldn't be on the list.
Yes.
Because again, the ABCs of gaming, these are not like trying to like match other people's standards. These are just like when we think of these letters, what are the games that come to our heads? And for M, it was Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor.
Very nice.
Could have worked for S also, because I just get Shadow of Mordor.
Middle Earth.
Yeah, exactly. Would have worked. But in Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, you play the role as Talion, a human ranger. And again, this is set in, Middle-earth. It's Lord of the Rings adjacent and everything.
Everybody be wearing cloaks and boots.
It's very cool. if
There
you're
be
into
swords and sorceries.
Exactly. Very high fashion if you're into the fashion of the times. And so, you're playing as Talion and you are honestly actually killed at the very beginning of the game.
Oh my
It's
God.
A little bit of a spoiler there. Sorry.
Whoa.
But you and your family are killed by the minions of Sauron. And then shortly after death, you are saved / resurrected by this elf spirit and apologize, Lord of the Rings fans. Michael B, correct me, please, later in the notes or in the Discord. It's either Celebrimbor or Celebrimbor.
For some reason, I know that name. It's Celebrimbor.
Celebrimbor.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I just
I'm
know the
going with
name.
it.
Know the name.
You're not telling me it's Travis, so I'm taking it for a win.
It's Trevor, actually.
But anyway, so Celebrimbor revives you and restores you to life, but you keeps you in this half ghost like, half human form. And in it, you go to avenge your family, taking on the minions of Sauron. Obviously, you can't, you're not going to hunt the Ring of Power because it can't conflict too much with the established events.
You can't be running into Frodo because they couldn't afford Elijah Wood.
So, but what made this game stand apart is that it was, in my opinion, one of the best, or if not the best, Lord of the Rings game since playing the highly coveted Return of the King PlayStation 2 game.
Was that game that well celebrated?
Oh, it's loved.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, those
was it
PS2
Celebrimbor?
Nicely done. I
Whatever
like
his name is.
But yeah, no, it's one that I remember playing both Two Towers and Return of the King. Return of the King though I had, and it was it was one of those games that I just played it constantly. I actually remember when I first moved to Austin, I had it on my Mac at the time. And because I didn't have internet and anything set up like that, I just kept replaying the intro level, which was just the intro level starts as soon as Gandalf comes and saves Helm's Deep.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's you start right into the action. You're Gandalf. You're fighting orcs. It's a good time. But anyway, neither here nor there. That game was fantastic. And then you bring it over into now Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. In between, you had the game, the one that comes to mind is Lord of the Rings: War of the North, which was terrible. I wanted to love it, but it was so buggy. I started it 3 different times and each time had to quit because of bugs. So I was just no more, not doing this, not playing around with this game anymore. You've lost my attention. So I moved on then. This was PS4 game. I want to say came out in 2017-ish, 15, 17? No, 15, 16, something like that.
This is War of the North?
No, sorry. This is Shadows of Mordor.
Oh, okay.
What I'm talking about for this list. Gotcha. Middle-earth, Shadows of Mordor. But anyway, what made this game stand out is that its combat, it's all of its gameplay is just fantastic. It plays actually very similarly to kind of an Assassin's Creed and some of the parkour you can do. It actually does say it takes its influences from that.
Cool.
And so you got a lot of climbing and stealth you can do. You have an advanced skill tree that you can get all these different abilities, both human and ghost, wraith form, and everything. But the main mechanic of this, or one of the neat mechanics of this game, was that it had this system called the Nemesis system. Because in fighting all the ranks of Sauron's armies, you would obviously come across orcs, you would come across some higher level commanders and everything in his army, and you would beat them. Or sometimes they would beat you, as it goes.
As does happen.
As it does happen in those video games. You lose some, you win some.
Was it any of those situations where it's a built-in loss in the game where you're supposed to lose and you can't win?
Maybe the first one just to show you, but then after that, no.
Gotcha.
Because it could happen literally to any random orc that you run across who happens to kill you. That killing you in this game, obviously since you're a wraith and all that stuff and you come back to life immediately after dying, it's not like you lose you're standing, or they're celebrated for that, but they think they killed this this great enemy of their army, so they get promoted in their ranks, and it shows you this war table basically of the ranks of the orc armies, and these you'll see these orcs move up and eventually get to war chief status and stuff like that.
That's pretty awesome.
Your whole thing through this is you're hunting down these various orcs to keep them from being war chief, because eventually you have to take out the war chiefs to be able to take out the main bad of this game, whose name I'm forgetting. And so
Trevor.
Sure, we'll call him Trevor. It might be the tower or the hand or something like that.
I did have the thought that your main character's name starts with a T, so I was like, Travis.
And so anyway, you go through the system, but if they kill you and then you run into them again, they'll remember you. And it kicks off some kind of I thought I killed you. Well, I'm going to make sure you stay dead this time, and then everything. But
that's awesome.
Every time they beat you, though, they get stronger. Their abilities get abilities. They may gain certain defenses against some of your weapons, different things like this as they level up. So it's kind of this fun mechanic of you just chasing these various ones that you will have multiple encounters with, depending on how good you are.
Yeah.
And everything like that. But it just made this really unique system to the game that had not, I'm pretty sure they straight up patented this system in the game. It was a WB game and stuff who made it, or at least published it. And so they like patented it and said like, nope, this is ours. You can't like, we're
Nice.
using this Nemesis system.
It's honestly a very cool idea.
It is very
I
cool.
know you've talked about this game before, but I don't
been a
really
while.
remember you talking about this promotion system
Yeah.
very much. It sounds really awesome,
Well,
actually.
because it just kind of keeps you like it makes
It keeps you on your toes.
It does because sometimes they'll start hunting you and like they'll find you if they're a particularly vengeful orc. It's just really interesting how well it played into this more open world game because it is that there's this area of the map you have like towers to unlock to reveal other parts of the map. There are fortresses to storm, little settlements, camps, what have you. Tons of fun side activities and collectibles to find along the way. But what makes this game, other than the incredible Nemesis system, what makes this game stand out for me is that it is the first game I got the Platinum Trophy for.
Oh, nice.
So I
Very
want to say it was like
nice.
70-ish hours or so, 50, maybe 54 hours or something in that one to Platinum it.
Very impressive.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's what
it was
kicked
great.
off the journey of Jarrett.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly though, there's not that many platinums to my name, so it wasn't a
More
very
than
big
me,
called
I don't have
platinum.
any. I
should
really
get one.
gotta go back and platinum Hatoful Boyfriend at some point.
You
I
should?
think it's the only game I can do it.
That would be hilarious.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, it's just a great game. Has a lot of great combat. It's one that because of especially that Nemesis system, and just the amount of other activities that you could do, it never felt stale.
Yeah.
And especially for like bigger open world games like that, that can be a real problem. And I think that the game solved that very well
Very
with a very
nice.
unique idea. So props to Shadow of Mordor.
Excellent choice.
But that is my M, Middle Earth, Shadows of Mordor.
Very nice. Well done. I've learned so much today.
I want to play its sequel. I think of it's Shadow of War, which Michael was telling me about. Michael B. He was telling me about, and he said that it's pretty good. It's like really good too, and it refines the Nemesis system even more. So
Do you
I'm kind
think
of
it's
wanting to play
called Shadow of War, comma, Return of Travis? I think it
it.
is.
Shadow of Mordor, more war.
That would be so... Man, they should have done that. What a missed opportunity.
It really was. But what is your letter M?
It's Minish Cap,
Oh.
comma, The Legend of Zelda.
Okay, I will give you that one because
Yes.
it's Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda is the series.
So here's the thing. The reason, so my L was obviously The Legend of Dragoon, and it had to be that game because it's the best game of all time,
Right.
except for Evil Zone, which is also the best game of all time, even though they're both, well, not they're both, Evil Zone is objectively bad. But the point is, I still really wanted to talk about at least one of the Zelda games at some point. And I specifically wanted to talk about Minish Cap because I think, and really I feel like this is what it boils down to as I keep thinking about it. I personally feel like Minish Cap is the height, the pinnacle of all of the top-down Zelda games.
Oh,
So
okay.
all of the old school ones from the very, very first The Legend of Zelda, all the way up to, what's the one everybody likes that I also enjoy? A Link to the Past.
Okay.
A Link to the Past. The really recent one for 3D, A Link
Link's
Between
Awake-
Worlds. Yes.
Link's Awakening, is that a top down?
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, Link's Awakening, A Link Between Worlds, all of those that fit into that same category of you are basically looking into a square, sort of from a top-down isometric view, and you are Link, and you're little Link. You're not
Yeah.
big Link from the other games. You're little smushy sprite Link. And you go around and do, various very traditional Legend of Zelda adventures. There's usually a big overworld to explore, populated with dungeons in each geographic region of the game. In all of these cases, you are always having to rescue Princess Zelda from something, except for... No, okay, Phantom Hour. Yep, I'll stand
All
by
of them?
that. Because in Phantom Hourglass, which was also top-down, which was also... yeah,
You're peeling back layers here.
yeah, really peeling back layers. Phantom Hourglass still counts because Tetra got turned into stone.
Okay.
Anyway, so the point is, I feel like Minish Cap is the best example of a top-down, super old-school Legend of Zelda game. And I feel like it is the core, like it personifies the entire core of what makes Legend of Zelda games great and why people have continued to play these games for well over almost 40 years.
Yeah.
It's been a
been a
long ass
minute.
time. Did they have their 35th anniversary last year?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it either is turning 36 this year or it turned 35 this year.
That was definitely last year because remember we did a special episode on it. We had Michael B on.
Anyway, so Minish Cap. So what's it about? What makes it so great? For starters, it was for the Game Boy. the Game Boy Advance.
Nice.
It was released in, when did it release? A hell of a lot. 2004 or 2005 in the US. So released in 2005, and notably, even though I think it's the best example of its type of Zelda game, it was not developed in-house by Nintendo.
Oh, really?
It was a joint venture between Capcom and a developer called Flagship. This is one of the rarest examples of a time where Nintendo actually gave the reins of a Zelda game to other developers and said, "Sure, go for it." And it turned out incredible. And it's like, I wish that you would do that a little bit more often, maybe. So I think that it came out right around the same time as Wind Waker, more or less, at least in the same era. And the box art is very reminiscent of the art style that was eventually used in Wind Waker. But they don't really share that much of a connection. I just feel like the way that Link looks, that Toon Link look, that's very much a part of Minish Cap. You know, the classic green hat, the little green outfit, the haircut in that very specific way that Link has, all of that is present there, except for one extra addition. Your hat is a talking bird man.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I think it's Eslo. Okay, the Birdman.
This is not the same Birdman as like the Skyward Sword birds.
No, very
the
different.
shoebills.
Yes. Well, he does actually kind of look vaguely like a shoebill, but not really. He looks more like a crane. Like he's got a really long beak and then a cute little swirly feather on the top of his head, and he's all green and he's got these big old eyes, but then his body, air quotes, just sort of becomes a hat. And I'm pretty sure his name is Eslo, but in my head, I've always called him Laszlo.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep going with that.
Why change now?
Yeah, why change things now? Hello, baby bird.
What do you need?
Girl. She
needs
just
those
wants some
pets.
butt pats.
She did. Dad ignored her.
She heard she heard all this talk of Minish Cap, and she was like, "Oh, I'm very interested.
I'm a Minish pup.
I'm a Minish pup." So the game starts out in classic Legend of Zelda fashion. Princess Zelda, for some reason, is with Link, and they're at like a festival in town, and everything is super fun and going great right up until shit starts hitting the fan.
It's usually when it goes south.
Thunder claps and lightning strikes, and all of a sudden Zelda is kidnapped by this weird guy with long purple hair in a dark outfit. So you know he's evil because his color palette is too dark.
Lay down.
She's like, no,
Lay down.
no, good dog.
Okay.
That's good enough. That's good enough. So she gets kidnapped. That happens all the time. And Link goes out into the forest for some reason, or he winds up there. I don't remember exactly what happens, but he runs into this hat man. And the hat's like, "Bro, put me on." And Link's like, "Okay." Which
So
is,
trusting of stranger hats.
it's really like the precursor to Mario Odyssey, if anything. But so when you put the magical hat on, as it turns out, Laszlo is a member of a people called the Picori, and the Picori are tiny. You know the Borrowers?
No. I'm sorry.
Oh boy, wow, you're very uncultured.
I am.
With Tom Felton as a child? Oh boy, okay, also a famous book series.
No.
Anyway, wow, damn.
I thought you were calling out another Zelda
Jeez,
character.
No,
or,
the Borrowers.
species. No, sorry.
Well, borrowers are this idea of like little tiny humans that live in your walls and use your people things like buttons and string and other like your teaspoons. They use those for their own purposes. So that's the idea of borrowers. Picori are exactly like that. They are little tiny people. They kind of look like a cross between people and mice, sort of. They're very, very cute. The Picori are basically just tiny little creatures that you normally can't see, but when you put on this magical hat, Laszlo's one of the Picori. So if you go to specific kind of like portals around the world, as denoted by tree stumps, you can shrink yourself down to Picori sized,
Nice.
and then travel around the world as a teeny tiny Link.
Well, that's fun.
And it really made the entire game incredibly charming. And I think that's why it sticks in my mind so well, is because, first of all, even being a Game Boy Advance game, it looks incredible to this day.
Yeah.
Like the art style absolutely held up. The graphics look fantastic.
Nice.
And especially when it comes to all of the tiny worlds, they are done so well with like these big overblown lily pads, and
Nice.
droplets of water are literally bigger than you, and there's bugs in the background. You're like, oh shit, I'm fucked. You gotta like fight spiders and stuff
I'm
because
out.
they're bigger than you
out.
now. Yeah, I know that you don't like spiders. We'll pretend that they're scorpions.
Sure.
Okay.
I can do that.
That doesn't make any sense, Jared.
Been bit by a spider, haven't been stung by a scorpion.
Well, I guess that's fair.
there we
It's
go.
a fair assessment. Anyway, so the game plays out then in traditional Zelda fashion, many distinct geographic areas, sort of capped off by dungeons. But the fun comes from finding these waypoints around the world to go back and forth between being tiny and being normal sized again. And it leads to a lot of really interesting environmental puzzles, and most importantly of all, a fetch quest that they've never brought back, because it's not really a fetch quest, the Kinstone system.
Okay.
So the Picori and like people around the world of Minish Cap, they're really into these things called kinstones, which are literally just little colored coins snapped in two. And the way that their like ridge line is shaped, you basically put two halves together, and that makes a kinstone. So you have
it's
to like
it's like a friendship bracelet
exactly,
thing. Or
it's
like
literally
a split
friendship
heart,
necklaces.
Like best friend.
It
Okay.
totally
Okay.
is. So
I'm with you.
all throughout the game, for like no reason, nothing happens if you get all of them. It's literally
Nothing happens. You can just other
No.
than say you got them all.
I
Good
think
job.
I don't know. Maybe something does happen if you get them all, but I don't remember what. And unfortunately, the Wikipedia page doesn't really have a section dedicated
Yeah.
to the Kinstones.
Well,
which is
obviously it means
very
it's waiting for you to
confusing.
write it. So
It really is. So I don't know why I found the Kinstone Friendship Gauntlet so incredibly fun, but I loved it.
Nice.
And then, of course, it's also got all kinds of different weapons that you collect and use throughout the different portions of the map. I really like the Gust Jar, which they like never brought back, but I guess the Deku Leaf is really similar to it, where you like hold this little jar under your arm and it poofs out air, and you like let it guide yourself on like when you're riding a lily pad as a boat.
Nice.
So cute. So fun. That's kind of all it does.
Sure.
Oh, and it can suck up like speeder webs and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so
That's
anyways,
good. Get rid of the
there's
spiders.
all kinds of cute, fun stuff in the game, and the overall story is really interesting. Vady, the purple-haired bad guy that I mentioned earlier, actually kind of a more interesting Zelda villain than we often get. I mean, he ultimately does just boil down to, I want power and I'm evil, but he's got some interesting
That's all you
backstory to him. Yeah, so he's really fun and cute, and everybody loves him, and also his boss fight was really kind of hard. So yeah, Minish Cap is one of the best Zelda games ever made. I would probably find a way to rank it in my top 5. I've never really thought
Wow.
about it, but I'm sure it would
Like
make
top
it up
5
there.
games or top 5 Zelda?
Top 5 Zelda games.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Which is still a pretty crowded list.
I was about
so
to say.
that's still saying something.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. Ocarina of Time doesn't make it into the top
Oh
5.
no.
Of course not.
Wow.
Minish Cap dunks on Ocarina of Time.
You
It's a
should do that
better
for like
game.
one of the episodes. It's like rank your Zeldas.
Yeah. Oh,
Or
God.
at least top
That
5.
would be a long
At least top
episode.
5. Well,
All
we can
right.
do it in 2 parts.
Anyway, so
3
yeah.
parts if it requires.
Minish Cap, The Legend of Zelda. Excellent game, and I recommend that anybody that has the ability to play it, I think that there's lots of emulators with it. It also might be on Switch. I know that they ported it to either the Wii or the Wii U.
their online library and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to look more into that. I don't remember.
I feel like I do remember hearing that come out because I feel like I'm either texted you about it or I messaged
like,
you on
it
Discord
happened,
something.
right? But I've never really
check.
needed it because I still have my 3DS that has the GBA port in it for my old GBA, specifically for Golden Sun and for Minish Cap.
Very
Those
cool.
are the two that I still use in that. So I've never needed it. But yeah, Minish Cap, stellar game. Please play it if you can.
Excellent choice. But that moves us on now to our letter N. And Mogan, I have to say, my choice is shit for this one.
Wait,
Because
so can we put forward all of our alternatives? My favorite is Nerizon Nero Non.
what was the one I just said? Oh, Nori in the Blind Forest, because I
Nori
could
in the
play it
Blind
off
Forest,
as
It's like, oh, Jared just misheard and no one's ever corrected
no one ever
him.
corrected me, regardless of how many times I started the game on my Xbox.
Okay, is it something that you think I can guess?
No.
Oh,
because I
no,
have to tell you,
okay.
I researched, I racked my brain. Unless someone out there can tell me, I don't think I've played a game that starts with the letter N.
Then can I do a quick shout out to my runner-up that I can't justify?
Yes, if I can just at least say which one I
Yes,
did.
go for it.
So the only shout out, I was just giving it because when I thought of N, it's the game that popped into my head first because It's No Man's Sky.
Oh, wow. I
I'm
didn't
giving
even
No
think
Man's
about
Sky
that.
the spot on my in because of the complete 180 that game has done since
Did you
launch.
play No Man's Sky?
No, haven't. That's what I mean. I haven't played it, haven't touched it because I know that it is not the game for me.
The no in No Man's Sky is for no, I did not play it.
No, I did not play this in parentheses. But yes, I didn't play it because I just do know that the game is not up my alley. It's limitless adventure, never ending. It's just like
You don't
I would
do-
get
you don't do well
overwhelmed
with
and just
that.
be like, there's too much to do. I'm just not even going to start. But going from No Man's Sky, how it launched, where it was honestly like it was panned. Critics, players,
yeah, it
everyone, due to bugs, just not being what it was promised. Lots of different issues.
A lot of it had to do with it being a marketing and PR nightmare.
Yes.
Like on the PR circuit, because the game was like debuted at what, E3 or something?
One of them at the
Well,
time,
one
yeah.
of those trade shows. And even though it was a smaller indie game, people really latched onto it. And
because of what it was promising.
Because of what it was promising. And then over the months and years leading up to its actual release, multiple times on like interviews and in Q&As, the developer said that, oh yeah, it's definitely going to have blah, blah. And yeah, we're totally going to put in blah. And then none of that wound up being true.
Or like not to the level that it was
Yeah,
expected to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Lots of different stuff like that. But in the years since, like No Man's Sky, I went back and looked. It came out in 2016. Since then, it has been like once the issues came out and they were, and rightfully so, kind of like, rightfully, maybe not rightfully so, like drug through the coals of being like, hey, this isn't what you told us this was going to be.
Yeah.
Hello Games put their nose to the grindstone and like were able to completely reinvent the experience for the players who have stuck around. Now it's got multiplayer. It has like base building. There's customization for your character. Still the limitless adventure awaits, but they've just been able to take those core promises and build on what was actually there at the beginning and turn it and expand it into something that is truly one of the best like survival games out there on the market today. So much so, I mean, just got to say it inspired Starfield from the upcoming game from Bethesda. It didn't. They're not officially saying that, but I mean, come on, it did. And so, I think
Bethesda noted thief
Bethesda
Todd
is
Howard.
like took notes basically. And so, I'm just saying there's been a lot of, survival games have seen an uptick lately. No Man's Sky is one of the highest ones and most revered now.
I mean, just looking at the sheer number of releases and additional patches they did that had big content updates, even beyond just the fixing of the game.
Right.
Like they got past the fixing stage and kept releasing content.
Right.
Like a crazy amount of it.
and it's supposed to be coming to the Switch soon now.
Yeah.
Like within the year, I believe.
So I would definitely say that in terms of did Hello Games manage to win back the goodwill of its player base?
Absolutely.
Yes, and I think they found a lot of new fans.
I think they
along the
redeemed
way.
it.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
See, it's what the response to No Man's Sky was the response that Cyberpunk had when it came out.
Yes. And actually, there was a lot of talk after Cyberpunk came out and was bombing, at least in terms of performance, of like, can they Hello Games it? Can
Exactly.
they turn it around like No Man's Sky? No.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
They are doing having the that Edge Runners anime is coming out. They're now putting out Edge Runners content into the game itself. But they might be able to. But I think Cyberpunk got burned even worse than No Man's Sky did.
Oh yeah.
So
I think a lot of that
because
has
it wasn't
to do-
even playable on promised consoles. So at launch, yeah, rough one out there for them. But anyway, No Man's Sky, just for the turnaround and the complete 180 they did, you got to celebrate that.
If at some point you have that facepalm moment of remembering an end game that you really should have talked about instead, just let
Yeah.
me know what it is.
Sure.
Like, you don't have to. I think No Man's Sky was a great choice. I just feel like that always happens to me. Like the Golden Sun thing.
Yeah.
Like, we left this episode and 3 days later I was like, no!
Well, our L's, I want to say, like everybody was like, I think I fully had in mind for the L's to do Life is Strange, but then somebody was like, oh, Jared's obviously doing Last of Us. I was like, God damn it, I do have to do The Last of Us. But
Strange,
C'est la vie.
life is.
So, what is your letter?
My N is an obvious choice, and it's the best game series ever made, other than Evil Zone and The
Sure,
Legend of Dragoon,
sure.
of course. Also,
Just put another one up
equally
on the
as
shelf.
high quality, but it's a series that I've never really gotten to actually talk about on the show. I've mentioned it so many times before. I've streamed it.
Oh, Nancy Drew.
Obviously, yes. The Nancy Drew Mystery Adventure Games. And I used to always call them the Nancy Drew PC Mystery Adventure Games because when I was growing up, that was all they were available for was PC.
Right.
They were not Mac compatible. Hilarious.
No, you weren't playing Nancy Drew on your Game Boy. Get out of here.
Absolutely not. And the original series started coming out back in, I want to say, right around 2000. The first game may have come out in 98 or 99, but I really kind of don't think so. I feel like they started coming out in 2000. And I remember vividly, like, I think it was either my birthday or Christmas. They're very close together, so I can't quite recall. But I remember unwrapping these two games that I distinctly did not ask for. And they were Nancy Drew, A Message in a Haunted Mansion, which was, I think, the second or third game, and then Nancy Drew Treasure in a Royal Tower, which was either the third or fourth. And one of them had a very blue cover, that was Message in a Haunted Mansion, and then the next one had a very purple cover, and I was like, and a castle on it. So I was like, ooh.
What's this?
But I remember looking at them and being legitimately disappointed, because I was like, what the fuck are these?
Who the hell is this Nancy Drew?
Who's this? Like, I knew what Nancy Drew was because
Sure.
my mom owned the entire book series,
Right.
which I never read a single one of.
Because
Books
are
are
for
for
chumps.
chumps. This is the best personification of why would I read a book when I can play the game?
literally.
Even though only some of the games are based on the books, and even then it's a stretch. But the point is, so the Nancy Drew Mystery Adventure Games, I'll correct myself, they are now available for Mac. And
Thank God.
yeah, thank God. And at the very least, White Wolf of Icicle Creek came to the Wii for some reason. I don't know why. I don't think any of the others did.
It's those motion controls that really changed the game.
Which is funny because there was at least one Nancy Drew game where you had to hand-to-hand judo combat the villain at the end to like passively subdue her because she wanted to kill you, but Nancy doesn't kill. So she just had to like do judo blocks until the villain tired herself out and you could just like take her.
Bill just throwing punches and Nancy just like, judo block.
Yeah, it really was like that. It was incredible. Oh man,
And
well,
she just found like, I'm too damn tired of throwing these
think
punches that aren't
was-
landing.
I think that was Danger by Design. And it was one of the first Nancy games that went outside of the US. Because, so she went to Paris. And it was she had to work for like an eccentric fashion designer. But boy, there was some stuff going on over there.
Sounds like it.
Which Nancy Drew always has to get to the bottom of. So
A common trope of those. Did anyone else, because that just totally pulled a memory from my head. Did anyone else read the book series, The Boxcar Children?
I did not. I know many, many friends who
Okay,
did.
so thank God this wasn't just a thing that only I was privy to.
I remember seeing them a lot at the book fairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, good old Scholastic Book Fair.
old
They would
Scholastic
have the
Book Fair.
Boxcar
Yep.
Children.
Yep.
But that's what I always remembered reading those, is that you read this and the whole plot of this book generally starts because usually the youngest, Benny, I think was the kid's name, would like, they'd be like walking down a street and just see somebody who like looked mildly suspicious and was just like, that fucker did something.
Incredible. I didn't know that.
So
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
so it's just like that. Like she's just in Paris and it's just like,
Well, so that's
was
the
there
thing.
actually a catalyst?
Not really.
Oh,
So
okay.
in almost actually, I think every single game. So canonically speaking, Nancy is 18, I think, forever. She does not age. Nancy Drew and all of her friends and family, including her dad, I think, are just alive perpetually, and they never get older. But Nancy's dad is a rich lawyer, and for some reason, well, he's gone all the time, of course. So Nancy just kind of can do whatever she wants all the time, and she has limitless dad lawyer money. And her dad's like, yeah, go out, see the world, have fun, build character and whatnot. And she's like, okay, I guess I'll go solve crime or whatever. And I think like in the first game, maybe she goes to a high school. Why? I don't remember.
She's got to learn still too.
But in at
you
least
can't be a private detective without a GED
of course not.
at least.
In at least game 2 to the entire rest of them, the setup is always that Nancy has gotten a letter or an email or a phone call from someone that has heard of her and needs her help.
Okay, so that's different.
Yes, it's different. She's expressly having her services requested.
I see.
So,
Just how you introduce it with being like, because there's a mystery she has to, of course, solve. Made me think of that.
Nancy
the
Drew
boxcar.
isn't a racial profiler.
I didn't say anything about race.
No.
You took it there. But probably from where this was coming from, yeah, it probably was a little
Also,
bit.
in the one White Wolf of Icicle Creek, the villain does wind up being just the foreign guy with a heavy accent. It's like, why? There were so many other good candidates.
Who could it have been from Kevin, Jennifer, Boris?
His
Maybe?
name is Yanni.
Oh, it's close. No, it wasn't.
Oh, God, Yanni. All right. Anyways, so the point is,
Mildly Eastern European name.
all of the Nancy Drew games start with Nancy walking up to her room and she goes, "Hi, my name's Nancy Drew," and then blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, Nancy, this brings me back. And it's funny to see throughout the years how much better in graphic quality her room gets because it just progressively gets better and better and better. And then she'll go to her desk and she'll open up like a classic manila folder, which contains the case file. Dun, dun, dun. And it'll have the letter from the person in question who needs your help and usually a couple of photos to like give you the lowdown of what's going on.
Sure.
So you always start every adventure kind of knowing what's happening. You usually know what crime has been committed, and you usually have like your point of contact, the person who's bringing you there or the person they put you in contact with. So you then go to the location by picking up your plane ticket off your desk. Wow.
And then you already had a plane ticket sent to you and
of
everything.
course,
My
yeah.
God.
And then you fly off to your destination to start investigating. So Nancy has to investigate a great many types of crimes, often thievery, explosions, murder, kidnappings. Remember that guy that got stuck in that old missile silo in Ireland? Do you remember the ending of?
No.
Oh boy, never mind. All right, anyways, missing persons, all kinds of stuff. So Nancy's out here investigating all different types of crimes, and you do that by interrogating the shit out of the locals, which is always very, very fun. The Nancy games have a lot of dialogue packed into them, and tons of excellent and incredible voice acting. The woman that has done Nancy Drew's voice for every single game, I think it's Lisa Minnella.
I thought you were about to say Manelli, and I was like,
Yeah, it might.
Lisa
Hang on.
Minnelli? That's not who it was. Liza
I think it
Minnelli.
might be Lena. Nope, that's not it. Hang on. Nancy Drew games.
fun fact, the only voice
voice
actress they could find who's perpetually 18.
Yeah, absolutely. Lonnie Minnella. I was so
So
close.
close.
God, okay, Lonnie Minnella. She has been Nancy Drew for 10,000 years.
Wow.
And I've just learned from Wikipedia that she's actually 72 years old herself. Nancy's voice hasn't aged a day.
That's talent.
Yeah, such talent. Anyways, Lonnie Minnella as Nancy Drew is... I will be on my deathbed, and I will think of Nancy saying, just kind of because every time you encounter something that you don't know what to do with, Nancy's just like, I'll have to come back to this later, or I don't think I can solve this yet. And it's like, Nancy, her stock dialogue is incredible, as are all of the other characters. They have such colorful voices. You can tell that, especially with the ones that take place in other countries, that they could not afford people that were actually from there.
Sure.
Like the Iceland one that I'm most recently playing, Terror on the North Seas or something. I don't remember. Sea of Darkness. There we go. Sea of Darkness. Sea of Darkness. Everybody's supposed to be in this tiny town in Iceland, and it's like, no, they're not. I don't know what accents these are, but none of these people were Icelandic. But they do their best, and we respect them for it. So Nancy has to go around and interrogate all the locals while she finds clues, while she investigates. And this is where the real meat of the games comes in the form of many, many puzzles. Now, if you've watched any of my streams of a couple of the games that I've played in the past, the puzzles vacillate between totally making sense and actually being a challenge of logic to sort of just being random fucking bullshit. And you're like, how the fuck was I supposed to solve this?
What was the one you were stuck on for so long? That one.
Oh my God, that slider puzzle.
The slider puzzle.
Oh
That's what it
God,
was.
that slider puzzle at the gates to the castle. Couldn't even get into the castle. That was the start of the game. Oh God, that was a brutal puzzle. So
man.
some of them are absolute horse apples. Just as many of them are actual really fun puzzles that you get to break out your notebook and pen for. Because I remember when I was growing up, me and my friends would often play it together at my house on the shared family PC, and we would literally have to get paper and pen, because there was internet back then, but we would like actually write stuff down and take notes and solve the puzzles on our own.
Just being good little detectives.
Just being good little detectives. And if we couldn't solve the puzzle on our own, frequently, you had to go to classic internet walkthroughs, the kind where it's like just a white web page with just an endless scroll, no links, no jumping around, no next page, just like, hey,
you just have to read this until
you just gotta read this until you get to the bottom, and it's like, okay. And it was incredible. So all of the Nancy Drew games are, I shouldn't say that. Many of the Nancy Drew games are incredible. A few of them are hot trash.
Yeah.
Ransom of the Seven Ships. Please, dear God, don't play that game. It is the worst one ever made.
Throw it away from my Steam library.
I think it's like common fan knowledge that Ransom of the Seven Ships is the worst Nancy Drew game. All of the other ones are at least interesting to great.
Nice.
And there are well over 30. I think Sea of Darkness was number 31 or 32. So they pretty much, Her Interactive, capital HER Interactive, they're the studio that made the Nancy Drew games for, like well over at least 20 years. And they pretty much published a new one every year for about 10 to 15 years.
Dang.
And then the production schedule got a little bit lengthier because, graphics improved, blah,
and
blah,
people
blah.
were like, who's Nancy Drew?
And people were like, who's Nancy Drew? But man, I have played almost every game. There's only a couple that I've missed over time, and I still want to go back and finish them. And, speaking of the streams, it's been really enlightening to go back and replay some of these older games, because it's like, well, how much of this was just nostalgia?
Right.
Not that much, actually. Like, I'm still able to replay these games that I barely remember and have a really good time. And it's really just sort of a, the point and click mystery style doesn't really go out of style. Like, sure, the graphics might suck, but the functionality itself, you can't really mess that up. It's a point and click game. So they have a really nice longevity to them. All of them are available on Steam, and they frequently go on sale and in bundles and packs. They're really cheap at this point. I would very strongly recommend that anybody pick them up that loves point and clicks, mysteries, adventures, or just top-tier voice acting. And some absolute shenanigans storylines. The Nancy Drew games go places.
Really?
There's jetpacks. There's ghosts.
Wow.
There's I think one of them has a killer whale in it. Yeah, they went very SeaWorld with one of them. But yeah, they're incredible. 10 out of 10 would recommend literally all of them. The Nancy Drew games are the best games ever made, except for Evil Zone of the Legend of Dragon.
Legend of Dragon. Just got to put those little caveats.
just asterisk.
Very cool, very cool. Well, you're talking about perfection when it comes to games. And that is what this next one is, really. My letter O. I've talked about it before.
Is it something I can guess?
Yeah.
Is it Ori and the Blind Forest?
No.
Okay, gosh. Just wanted to get that out of the way.
Fun game, but no, it's not Ori and the Blind Forest.
Absolute perfection, and it starts with an O. Was that sarcasm?
Other people may disagree. When we've talked about the game before, there have been disagreements.
Oh, God, Jarrett fucking... You scumbag! It's the Order 1886.
The Order 1886.
You know what? I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. I should have known. I really did think you were going to talk about Ori. Wow.
No, the Order. I have to.
Oh my God.
I have to.
Blindsided again.
As was I when I first installed my disc of the Order 1886 into my PS4.
Jarrett, that game has werewolves.
Yeah.
So it's mildly spooky.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you a promise.
Are you going to play it? Because I let you borrow the game to play it before, and you held it for 3 years.
Give it to me again. I will play it in October, and I'll stream it.
Fantastic.
It's for PS4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll work.
Let me borrow it again. I'll redeem
so good, though,
myself.
It should be on the PS5. Oh my God. Like, it really is, though. And that's why I love it so much. The Order 1886, everyone. For those of you who are not familiar with this masterpiece.
The deep lore of Team Chat Podcast.
It is the deep lore of Team Chat Podcast, because I think I had just played it for the first time, or while we were making the show, but very early on.
This game has been hanging on for 7 goddamn
Much like
years.
You could say The Legend of Dragoon.
It's true.
But still, I'll keep it short. I'll keep it brief because there is a plethora of time spent on the Order 1886.
We should really cut together an Order 1886 master cut, like Jarrett.
That would be really
edition.
fun because it would be very fun to see like if I can keep the details straight. Because I've still only played the game the one time, and then I watched Kirok stream it when he streamed it. I want to say like a year, maybe 2 ago. I want to say that he played it for the first time and also loved it. I will say, but the Order 1886 takes place in 1886. You're in London. I looked at the light for some reason, thinking that's where the lens was.
Don't look
No,
at it,
it's up there. But anyway, you played in like Victorian London of the time. But you are a member. You are Sir Galahad. You are the Sir Galahad of the Knights of the Round Table because the Knights of the Round Table are still around because of the discovery of this substance called Blackwater that they can drink it and it basically revives them of all injury, keeps them young, keeps them spry, and keeps them serving the Queen's or His Majesty's justice throughout time. Because it started with King Arthur. Now it's a queen. You know what I mean? Just to pass the time and they're staying alive. But it really is that there's this like deep mystery because you're staying alive, fighting the forces of evil that come across the threats of the world at the time. This one, again, it's been a while. The details are a little fuzzy as to what kicks it off.
What matters is that it stayed in your heart.
Yes, you basically do go into this deep mystery that you've uncovered in London, surrounding that. Yes, there are sites of werewolves. There are other creatures that you come into contact with throughout this gameplay too. But it is a very much like it's a linear game. You go from point A to point B. You fight those people there. Once you cleared out the people in point B, you go on to point C.
Very
and repeat.
Uncharted.
It is.
You're
it's
making
very
me
Uncharted.
nervous, Jarrett.
It's very Gears of War in its gameplay style. I will give it that.
Okay.
And in fact, that is one of the areas that it is somewhat panned. That it is like your gameplay pretty much does lower itself to just these combat situations, which are they are. It's just people run at you, you shoot them down, and then you move on. You do have a lot of very fun weapons because again, this time period, you do actually get a Tesla coil gun at one point. Because like Nikola Tesla hands it to you, basically like, been working on this. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. I want to say this one gun would like shoot a bomb of like gunpowder into the air, and then you would fire it again, and it would like light it and
just
spark
like
it.
Ash in the Overwatch.
Yeah,
wow,
with the dynamite and stuff. So like
Overwatch ripped off the Order 1886.
It's true. You heard it here first, everybody. But yeah, it just had a lot of great combat. The combat had fun within it. But then I do also know that like some of the other critiques it got over the time was that a lot of things take place in like quick time events. You know, just hit the buttons real fast in the correct order.
I kind of like quick time events,
I
so
do too,
I don't mind that at all.
Because it's after a long battle sequence usually. So I'm like, yeah, sure, don't drag out this boss fight longer than it needs to be. Let me end it in a fun cinematic quick time event.
That's fine.
Because that is where the game shines, in that it is an incredibly cinematic game. This game, Ready at Dawn was the developer. It came out very close to the release of the PS4. So it was like one of the things where they're like, hey, we've got this new console, we've got this new software, this new power behind it. Let's see what we can do. And my God, like, I'm not kidding. I feel like you could have it's been a while, so sure, it may have aged a little bit, but I feel like you could put it up against like a current game and it would still look great because like the quality, because that's what this game was praised. The quality of its graphics, the quality of its acting, the quality of its just environments. The art of this game is fantastic. I mean, it is very like realistic in its look and feel and everything like that. But like, think Vampire.
I was actually exactly going to say that
It feels
because
very
in my
similar to
mind,
Vampire.
from the screenshots I've seen of Order 1886, now having played Vampire, I feel like they're kind of on similar graphic
They
level.
are. Well, like same. I wouldn't say I was gonna say think Vampire, but like 2 times the quality.
Oh, wow.
It's good.
Okay.
Its cutscenes are fantastic. And it was one of the. But I would describe it though because it does have longer cutscenes. It does have some moments that are taking place with these quick time events. I would call it more of a cinematic game. You're not here for an overly impressive gameplay. You're here for a kick-ass story with kick-ass graphics and performances to boot.
And you would say the story's really fun?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's got some great twists in it. I think I kind of like love, like it's not similar, but it kind of plays off of it, like the Underworld movies. I love those.
Oh, I love those movies.
This game kind of has that same feel, but like 1886. So that like Monster Hunter, like Van Helsing kind of vibe to it. I really like that.
Where like it's not exactly air quotes good,
Yeah.
but it's fun.
But it's fun.
So who fucking cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what this game was. It was just a lot of fun, but I just remember the whole time just being like, I can't believe this is
real.
this is what like this is where games are at with how they can be developed and everything like that. So I've talked about it enough. It's a great game. Go play it, everyone. I'm excited to watch your stream later because I'm gonna hold you to it.
How many hours is it? Yeah, let me.
I beat it in a night.
Okay.
Or like,
wow.
Well, because I got hooked.
Well, yeah.
I was like, Sam was gone at working an event, and I stayed up. Okay, not in a night. I started it. I'd say it's like 8 to 12.
Okay, gotcha. Perfect
Like,
stream length.
yeah.
So like knock it out
And
over
that's
a
another
series
thing
of a couple
that it
of
was
weeks.
knocked for. It was that short of a game with only single player story.
Gotcha.
So, but it was still a full $60 game.
See, you say the words 8 to 10 hours and only single story game, and I'm like, hell yes.
Exactly, same with me.
I don't want
I'm like-
anything more than that. Give me a nice short game with no multiplayer
Yeah.
online.
I'm the same. I'm the same way. So it's, that wasn't a knock to me, but I can understand to other people. And I bought the game later when it was on sale. So like I didn't play it right when the PS4 came out and stuff like that. But still, it was like, so I got a little cheaper. So that might have been negated a little bit for me.
Yeah.
But still, now it's obviously cheap. It's going to be free for you because I'm going to let you
Hell
borrow
yes.
mine. Again?
How long do you think I'm going to keep it this time?
I'm going to say 5 to 10.
Oh
this time.
yeah, man, I'm going to have to move again.
I'm going to
before
call
you get
you
it
at
back.
like 60 when I turn 65. Just got on retirement. I'm like, hey Mogan, I'm retired now. You know what I would love?
I would love that.
I would love to play the Order 1886 again. Can you return my copy,
and I'll be
please?
like, yeah, I know exactly where it is. I've been staring at it for 63 years. Oh boy.
Oh man. But anyway, that's my O. The Order
I
1886.
really can't believe I didn't see it coming. I feel like such a chump.
But what is your O?
My O is a game that I've talked about before, done a full review, but haven't really talked about it since, and I would really like to. I will give you a hint. It's a JRPG.
Okay, it's an O, JRPG.
It came out within the last 5-ish years, and while you ruminate on that, I'm going to pull up the actual year it came out because I don't entirely remember. It's got,
Well, I'm just trying to think of.
yeah, I'm trying to give you what hints I can tell you that won't immediately give it away.
Duh, Octopath Traveler.
Yeah,
I was dancing
Octopath
around the O. I
Traveler.
knew it's not like I was dancing around what the O was, but I knew it.
Yeah.
Octopath Traveler.
I was actually really struggling with O because I was thinking that I might have to do Ori and the Blind Forest. Have to do, like it would be a chore, even though I really like that game. But I was like, I know that there was something I was thinking of that I wanted to talk about. It was Octopath Traveler. And
A good choice.
Thank goodness I remembered. So Octopath Traveler came out in July of 2018.
It's that old already?
That old. That's
Wow.
the thing, is in my mind it doesn't feel that old.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it really has been well over 4 years.
Well, I
by
guess
now.
the sequel just came out though.
Sequel.
Follow-up Triangle Strategy? What's that one?
Triangle Strategy. Yeah, it's by the same developer.
Okay, but it's not
Totally unrelated. No.
okay.
I was about to say, do you know something? I don't know.
I mean, we have been doing
Oh
this
my God.
podcast for a while. I'm
Yeah.
a little tapped in now than I
Oh,
better than I
boy.
was day one.
No, so
Spoiler
Octopath
alert, I'm
Traveler.
not.
So Octopath Traveler came out for the Nintendo Switch pretty early in the Switch's lifespan.
Yep.
So it was really kind of one of the big releases for the time, and it was one of the biggest original IP JRPGs to debut on the system. It is still only for Switch. I feel like
Yeah.
every
You know what?
every
It
time
might
I
be on
say that
PC
shit,
though.
they port it to PC. So you look and see if they eventually ported it to PC. But it came out originally for only the Nintendo Switch. So the setup to Octopath Traveler and why it has such a bonkers stupid name, because the studio that develops these games just does not fucking know how to name games.
They're like, what are words? Put two of them together.
Yeah, just smash any two words together.
It is on Steam. Yes.
Oh yeah, okay, it's on Steam now. Well, congratulations, you can now get it on multiple platforms. But the experience on Switch is very, very good, and that's because it's kind of a unique game in that it was the first to, I think, debut what they were calling the HD 2D style.
Which I love it.
And it looks so good. It is the kind of graphic style, because it's like pixelated. It's very heavily pixelated. It's meant to be a callback to like early to mid 90s JRPGs of like the early Final Fantasies, the Chrono Triggers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's meant to sort of look like that, but like it was made today, like it was made by a studio that has a lot of power behind it. So it's got this really interesting top-down look, but everything looks super 3D. It has a lot of depth to it, and the character sprites are all really, really cute and fun. So the characters in question are the Octopath.
I actually played this one, like a little bit of it. The demo.
Oh yeah, you played the demo. The O is for Ophelia, Cyrus, Ulberich, there we go. I always forget the other one. Ophelia, Cyrus. Oh, I forgot the T. Ophelia, Cyrus, Tressa, Ulberich, Primrose. Yes, Primrose. Alphen. I always forget the A too.
And what's the other T?
The Alphen. It's the thief. Tyrese. Travis.
Travis again.
God, what's his fucking name? Oh, it's killing me because he was one of the demo characters.
Yeah, because you meet him. You meet him in the.
Yeah, you meet him
in the demo.
Yes. God, what's his name? Jared, hurry! I'm
trying.
losing
I'm
it.
sorry.
All right, I'll skip to the H for now. Honnet is the H.
That's what I played as.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did. And then the T is. I'm gonna call him Tyrone if you don't find that.
I'm sorry. I'm searching here.
Lord, what I loved him. What is his name? Characters, synopsis, Cyrus, Tressa Colzione, aka Calzone, Primrose, Alphen, and then, oh, come on, what's the name? Therion!
Therion, I saw it like just as soon as you saw it. God damn it, I'm too slow.
I never would have remembered Therion, even though I really liked him, actually. So yes, that's the Octopath in question, is the stupid name.
Okay, so you know what? I did not realize
You didn't!
that the name spelled
Fascinating,
Octopath.
yes. So each of
That
the
is
characters...
the most backwards way
It's a dumbass acronym because it both tells
explaining
you...
your name of your game.
I know. It both tells you that, hey, there are 8 characters, because this is the other thing that sort of makes the name make sense, is that when you start it up, you have these 8 characters that you can choose from to start your journey, and you can pick any of them. No one is behind like a progress wall. You can just look through the character list of the 8 characters in question, the Octo, and pick which path you want.
So many connections.
So many connections. And pick which of their paths you want to start with. So whomever you pick as your initial character, you play as them for the entire game. I also believe that they are... Ooh, are they? I actually can't remember if this is true or not. I think they are locked in your party. They have to be. They are locked in your party as your default main character. But the other 3 slots are eventually populated by any of the other 7 characters that you meet as you play the game. So the gist of Octopath Traveler is that you're exploring this wide world of Old Jersey, we're going to call it, because I can't remember what their planet is called or whatever it is, but it's very much sort of the... typical Final Fantasy medieval setup.
Right.
Where everything is very, like, magical and there's, like, monsters everywhere. There's no technology to speak of for exactly, but there's just all kinds of, like, alchemy and stuff. Like, that's the stage that they're at.
Right.
They haven't really made it to, like, we know what germs are. but they know that if
that
they
Black
do...
Plague is still a mystery.
Who knows? But they know that, like, okay, if I mix these 2 herbs together... and then pour in some baking soda and vinegar, probably, because that's what cures everything. This will get rid of that nasty rash on this kid. So that's kind of where they're at, technologically speaking. But each of the 8 characters has their own distinct story, and as you play through the game, even if you're not playing that character as your main, you can still play through their story arcs. So as you progress, you eventually gather up all 8 of the people, and then you can kind of just plow forward with your main character's story, or you can go around and do everybody else's main and side quests.
Which I think at that point, when I was like, I cannot play
It's a
this.
long game.
That is so long.
It's a long game. So just to get through, so I started as Tressa, the merchant, and she's the best girl, 10 out of 10. Everybody would recommend Tressa. I don't regret my choice at all. Oh, and I should say that each of the characters follows a pretty standard JRPG archetype. Tressa is a merchant, Primrose is a healer, Cyrus is a wizard, Therion's the thief, that kind of stuff. There's eventually barbarian. Ulbrich is kind of like a barbarian. So they all follow very similar combat archetypes.
Yeah.
But then their personalities are theirs alone. And Tressa is just this fun little peppy, like, I'm going to get out into the world and make a fuckload of money through the power of merchantry. And it's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. So if I played through just Tressa's journey, which I think I finished 2, I did eventually finish Ophelia's. But even then, I think I still clocked in well over 60 hours.
Oh, wow.
Possibly 80.
For 2 to 3? Just two characters.
Just
Woo!
2, yeah.
Didn't your brother beat them all?
Yeah, he did, I think.
Oh my god.
So
he really is pro Mogan.
Yeah, that's why I renamed him in the Discord. But anyway, so my point is, it's a really, really, really long game, but that's because the combat system and the characters, obviously, are so interesting. So the combat of Octopath Traveler is what makes it a really unique game in its own right, because JRPGs, this is a turn-based combat system. Love it or hate it, a lot of people think it's antiquated and they think it's not fun anymore. Octopath Traveler kind of fixed that problem by introducing a really unique mechanic to the battle system of what I would call the brave or default, because that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Basically, your character gets these battle points, the BP system, while you're playing that you can spend to unleash more powerful versions of your base attacks.
Okay.
So the risk and reward that you have to take is you can always see who's going to act next. So like you can see when your characters are going to act versus when the enemy characters are going to act, so you can plan out your attacks in advance. So the strategy that you're working with is, okay, how many battle points do I have to spend versus how vulnerable is it going to leave me if I blow all of my BP early in the fight and then no one can defend. Because if you blow all of your BP, you're kind of borrowing against future moves. So you can wind up in a spot where you have no defenses up and the boss that you're fighting is about to unleash their best attack. And if you've got nothing on deck to deal with that, or if you're not able to kill them before they unleash that attack by, maxing out all of your attacks,
Right.
you're fucking screwed. And this is a game that you really kind of you'll die. Like, you really have to be careful with your attacks, and you really have to think about it very carefully, especially in the later stages, because even standard random encounters with whales, specifically the whales.
Why are you fighting whales?
The whales in this one cave right off the coast. It's a hidden cave.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you added the off the coast. I was
No,
like,
it's
this
off the
game has
coast.
gone
So,
bananas.
like, really close to Tressa's hometown, actually, and I found it really early on. If you go down this kind of hidden path and go forward into an area that you can't actually see, you run into this hidden coastal cave. And the random encounter enemies in there are like seagulls and whales and junk, but they are like level 50 and I was level 1 at the time. So even when I got to level like 45, I went back to that cave. I was like, those fuckers don't know what's coming for them.
Kick their ass.
No, they still kick my ass.
Oh no.
And I was like, wow, those whales are not fucking around. So my point being that even lowly enemies, if they are high enough level, they will stomp all over you. So you really have to carefully plan your attacks. And the other thing that makes it very fun is that all of your characters' classes, thief, bard, there's not a Primrose. She's a dancer. That's what she is. Thief, dancer, that kind of thing. Each of those classes can also have a subclass. So, for example, you could have Primrose in your team, and she's got all of the dancer moves by default. But then if you give her the job of alchemist, suddenly she can do all of these healing moves too. So there's a really interesting balancing act of what moves do I need in my party and then what do I need more of. So like if you need extra magic power, you put Cyrus in your party and then you put in somebody else but give them the wizard job. Magician? I don't remember. It's a wizard. Who cares? Scholar! They call it the scholar.
Oh.
There we go. but then give somebody the scholar job so that you have two characters that can dole out magic right, left, and center. Not as powerful as Cyrus can because he's the default scholar.
Right.
He has the highest magic attack, but they can still use their abilities to break enemy defenses, which is the other part of the combat system that is so important. You have to find an enemy's weaknesses and then hammer away at them with those special attacks to break their guard, basically, get yourself a bunch of extra moves because the enemy is suddenly stunned, and hopefully wail on them so hard that they're dead before they can come back and wail on you. So Octopath Traveler, incredible game. It is very, very, very long. Basically, there are 4 tiers. Like, you can go once around the map and kind of finish every character's tier 1. Then you go around again and finish everybody's tier 2. Then there's tier 3. Then the final tier is tier 4.
Whoa.
And then there's also a secret super boss if you beat all 8 of the stories.
Jesus.
Right. But for the hardcore JRPG fan, it's a dream.
Oh, I'm sure. To
And
somebody out there, that game is heaven on
absolutely.
earth. To me, no.
And to be fair, I still go back every now and then and keep playing a little bit of my original file because I'm like, someday I'm going to beat all 8.
Yeah.
It's taken me a while, but I'm going to get there. Oh, no, I don't think I finished his. I did at least finish tier 2 or 3 of Alphen's story, so I'm almost done with his. His was the next I was working on. Maybe I did finish his. I don't remember. Anyways, the point is, it's a great game. Octopath Traveler, it's for the Switch and for Steam. If you haven't played it, it's the kind of game that doesn't age. So
Yeah.
you can play it today and have the exact great experience that I had 4 years ago. 10 out of 10, would recommend, unless you're like Jared and you don't like JRPGs, in which case stay far, far away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my fault as a gamer. It's my one fault.
No, well,
I
my
just don't
fault
like
is that I've never played The Order 1886.
That is true. But now, hey, it's going to be fixed.
I know, yeah, I'm excited.
It's great. I am excited. I'm looking forward
I
to
feel,
that.
I
That'll
feel
be
like
fun.
it's going to be fun. Now, after all this time, it took you 8 years to
I know,
convince
right?
me, but I'm finally going to do it.
I do. It is one that I want to go back and play because speaking of platinums, I'm close. Like
You haven't platinumed?
no, because
I'm going to platinum
I
it
missed a
before
collectible.
you. Oh, Jared.
I think that's literally like the only thing I'm missing. I think I missed a collectible. So
I'm
newspapers or photographs?
Newspapers
you're
and
playing it,
photographs. Okay, keep
look
my
for
eyes
those.
peeled for those. Good tip.
I think it's the newspaper. I
Gotcha.
didn't get a newspaper
very cool.
because you got to go do that on the side. You got to make money somehow. Paper delivery boy.
Of course. Anyway, so those are our MNOs. Jared, what were you
MNOs,
again?
Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor, No Man's Sky, and The Order 1886.
And mine were Minish Cap, The Legend of Zelda,
Mm-hmm.
Nori and the Nine Norist, Nancy Drew. There we go.
We were like, you really should have heard us before.
We
I'm
were
sad.
just-
I really hope I had hit record before we started. I might have. So I'm
You
hoping we
might
did
have.
that. We captured it because we just like were like listing out. It tickled
Every
us.
game we
It
can think
tickled
of
us.
to just replace the N with, but,
Yeah.
so that Jared could have something to talk about. But the Nancy Drew series in its totality and Octopath Traveler for me.
There you have it, folks. Our M, N, and O, and our continuing series of our ABCs of video games.
We're over halfway through the alphabet
almost
now.
there.
Yeah, we're
I
almost
was
there.
doing it. I think we only have maybe like 3 more volumes
Yeah.
of this to do, I think.
Cool.
So we're getting close, Of course, and as always, we would love to hear what your M, N, and O
Yeah.
on your ABCs of video games are. So head over to the Discord, pop down to the comments section wherever you're listening to or watching this, and let us know what your M, N, and O games are in your own or your whole just complete ranking. Just do your whole ranking.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear that
Send
too.
them all to us. We
'Cause
love that kind
we're
of
not
stuff.
finished yet, but we'd love to see
Yeah.
your whole list as well. So send it our way. Let us know. And hey, you know what? We'll see you back here next time on another episode of Team Chat Podcast. Until then, I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined by Rachel Moody.
Adios.
We'll see you all next time.